welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Wrestling. As by everyone, joined by Tim. Hi, Tim. How you doing, mate?
Hi, Lee. I'm not too bad. How about yourself?
You're not too bad, thank you. And happy Father's Day.
And happy Father's Day to you too, sir.
So this week we had RAW and SmackDown and the start of the King of the Ring tournaments. But just before we get into that, Tim, something's really annoyed you this week, hasn't it, Tim?
Yes, Lee. And here is my rant. My first rant of the week. I'm bored of multi-man matches. Please, no more four-ways, triple threats. I'm done. Over SmackDown and Raw, we had a total of 6 four corners matches. That's too much. Way too much. I'm like, I feel really bad because the people involved in it are great. They are magical. But I want to see clean victories. You could almost see in all of the multi-man matches the one person that was going to be pinned. It protected everybody. Sometimes you just need to throw these people under the bus and hope that they can survive and go from there. We could have done a couple of singles matches and led forward as opposed to this mishmash.
And do you think as well, because of the way the Money in the Bank qualifiers were, and then obviously the way they've got to quickly do the King of the Ring tournament, it's been like 6 weeks of just multi-matches. Is that why it's getting too much now?
Yeah, and that's my whole point. We had triple threats for Money in the Bank. We got fatal four-ways for King of the Ring. So I feel burnt out with multi-man matches. And we're almost certainly going to get, when we go to something like SummerSlam, we're going to get another multi-man match or woman match there. And I'm going to feel, oh, here we go again. Just want some singles matches, maybe even some stipulation matches. But let's have some singles matches, please.
But again, is it going back to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, where WWE are painting themselves in the corner with how busy their schedule are? So they've got to get all these little things done, and they've got to get as many people on TV as they can.
Yeah, so this is gripe number 2. It's 3 weeks between Money in the Bank and Night of Champions. And we're cramming stories, we're cramming matches. You got to spread it out. I mean, I think it's maybe another 2 weeks after that, and then we've got the Saturday night main event and Evolution pay-per-views, and then about another 3 weeks after that, we're at SummerSlam, and that's a 2-nighter. And we're like, there's so much we need to flesh out. Maybe we need to drop an occasional premium live event. That way, we can give a little bit more of the stories to breathe. Because I do feel we're suffering from too much going on at once at the moment.
I think the only problem is when they're now obviously under the TKO umbrella. Obviously, these PLV events, they generate loads of money because it's like a 2 or 3 day in the town thing. And obviously, the towns are paying for WWE to come. There's multiple events going on, which generates money. There's loads of merch sale across the whole day. So my father-in-law lives in Indianapolis, and he said obviously when they came to town, it was like the Olympics coming to the city. And obviously with a company like TKO, it's all about money, and maybe that's now harming the product because really the product doesn't matter. That gets the bums on the seats, but once the bums are on the seats, it's all about all the other stuff that comes around it. So as long as we get the big superstars in town, then the money will follow.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I need to stress this. It's not that the matches are bad. With the odd occasional, we've had some meh matches lately. Generally, these 4-corner matches are great. But I think my issue is, by putting so many people on the programme, it's finding it difficult to invest into one character. I mean, what was it? One of the events on SmackDown, you had 1 heel and 3 face characters, and we're like, who am I cheering for? Who do I want to win? Who, or more importantly, who do I want to lose? And I think that's the issue we're getting. I understand that TKO wants to make as much money as they can, and it's their right. I just think we need some breathing space. And maybe after SummerSlam, will get a little bit of breathing space, but I'm still not convinced that's going to happen.
No, I totally agree with you. Just go back to the formula of the Attitude Area, such a smaller roster, spread over both programming. You got invested for that. It was like a week-long story. Something would happen on Raw, then it would continue on SmackDown. And like you said, you could just invest so much. But obviously, as the company's grown, the stars have grown. It's just getting that balancing act right. Back to Raw. Feels like a long time ago now.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago. Well, I think the best way to start off with it is if we talk about some of the segments. Big one for me, R-Truth segment on Monday was very impactful. I liked what he said. I felt he said it with enough passion to make me feel that I need to get invested in the character. Did wonder where we were going, but later on in the week we got that answer. So I was pleased with what they did with his promo.
See, I disagreed after Monday, and I did put out a little short. I just thought all that build up to get R-Truth back, and then we got Ron Killings. And Ron Killings as a character is great, but people were campaigning for truth, and we didn't get truth. So it was a bit of a conflict for me, because I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, you've brought back the person, but you've not brought back what people want.
No, I did. I'm reminded of his TNA days when he was Ron the Truth Killings. I liked where we went with that. This time, I'd like to point out, they're still portraying him as R-Truth. The graphics are all saying R-Truth. He's not coming up as Ron Killings. When we talk about SmackDown, I'll come on a little bit more. But I thought he cut it with enough venom. He cut it with enough passion. I mean, let's be honest, this is his one hurrah, his last hurrah, should we say.
But if it is, and like we agree it is, shouldn't he go as the comedic R-Truth? Because that's who people were rooting for a couple of weeks ago.
He's still getting pops in stadiums now. And by turning him into this character, I think we'll get a better John Cena R-Truth match. Yeah, let's go with the King of the Ring. Let's start with the women's match. That was a solid match. I thought Roxanne winning was a clever way of booking. They're really pushing her. I like there's a little bit of friction between her and Liv. I think that's going to work out really well in the long term, because I do believe they're going to turn Liv face. I really do. I think that's where we're leaning towards. I'm not sure that's the right way to go, but I think that's where it looks like it's going, and Roxanne's going to almost slide in as that heel character.
Yeah, do you think with that they're split the Judgment Day? Because obviously with what Dom and Finn are alluding to, and then we're going to get a face Dom as well with Liv, or do you think they're going to separate Liv and Dom? Because you've been saying for a couple of weeks they're going to turn Liv face, and do you think she's still going to have Dom by her side, or they're just going to push her on the singles face turn?
So, see, this is the one. I really don't know, because I can't. My problem is to turn him face, Finn has to stay as the heel character.
Yep.
And at the moment, it's almost like they're portraying that, but I don't know how Dominic works as a face. I don't see it. He's got that almost that sleazy, sleazeball kind of look, and I'm like, he'd need a haircut. He'd need a proper upgrade in gear. I'm not sure that works in the long term either. So, long and short of it is, I don't know whether he's going to join her or not.
And I think as well, if they're going down the route they were trying to start portraying with AAA, you can't turn Dom face, because he's going to be the American guy against the luchadors. So I think if you turned him face, that sort of kills that angles that they started, and that was a quite hot and good angle they were going with from after Worlds Collide. So I think you need to keep Dom heel. So they might have to do a quick change with Finn now. Because I agree with you, they've started portraying Finn as the heel guy, but I think they need to then reverse their thinking.
I think you can split the Judgment Day up without turning everybody face and heel. You can almost just like separate them, so they just become their own entities. men's qualifier. I'm really pleased for Sami. I truly am, because I think if somebody does deserve that push, it should be him. The action again, like, I'm trying to work out ways in which I can stop talking about Bron Breakker in such a gleaming fashion. He looked great. I think the way in which they made sure that he couldn't win was brilliant. LA Knight coming out, that gave you some sort of, like, I would imagine SummerSlam plans. I think that would be a good idea, because that's a match I would want to see. It's very strange, because as much as I'm glad Sami won, I also think they're painting themselves into another corner.
Yeah, because obviously with the SmackDown results, which we'll get to later, it doesn't help Sami's favour. But again, I agree with you. And when I watched it on Monday, I was then thinking out on Tim's theory that Sami could turn on Jay. Obviously, we hadn't had the title match by then. I was thinking, actually, yeah, Tim was right here. But obviously, with the title match that we'll come on to in a minute and SmackDown results, yeah, it's great for Sami, but I just don't think it's going to be his time at the moment.
Flipping it and seeing, I could see him facing Gunther at SummerSlam, almost being fed to him, and Gunther winning that match on SummerSlam. I think that's where you go with that as a possibility.
I totally agree with what you said about Braun. He is the next. And I like the way they're building them up, because in a way they're sort of following the blueprint for Seth. So Seth was in a group, the Shield started off as heelish. I know they sort of become face. Then he broke away as a character, and I think exactly the same way.
Just reminded me of Batista for me. The way in which he was in Evolution, and he just crushed people, and we were seeing big matches. He was losing matches, but he was still involved in heavy angles. I like this. I think this can work for him. I do honestly think he'll be in the title picture within the next 18 months, without a doubt.
You know, 100%. And talking about titles, so obviously we sort of alluded to Gunther winning, but the Gunther Jay match itself, what did you think of it?
Do you know what? I liked the build-up around it. I liked the way in which we kept feeding into Gunther and Jay, and it being a big deal. I'd said to you before, I was convinced that Seth was going to cash in. Almost looking back at it, I'm glad that they didn't. Jay looked beaten up. I like the fact that he came out in just the vest and he wrestled with the vest. And because at first I thought, well, he doesn't use that. He's usually without a top. And they used it as a great story to say, actually, his ribs are taped up. So when you take the vest off, you've now got a target. It was some of the best ring storytelling I've seen in a long time. Gunther looked great. Jay looked like he was a beaten man. I think that at the end of the day, whilst I was annoyed at first, I think that's the right decision. I think they've done a good idea with switching the belt. I said I can't argue with it, looking back at it.
Yeah, no, agreed. The only criticism, and again, it's me, my nitpicking like I do every week, Jay didn't sell his injury on the entrance. And I get he's there to yeet with everyone, and that's part of him, and that's why people come to see him. But he was eating fine, and then obviously in the ring, the story got told, which he done very well. But I just think he needed to be a bit more battered on his entrance. But other than that, great performance, and I like the ending. It doesn't improve. It doesn't have to be all high flying, and it doesn't have to be a clunky and loads of interference. They've done the last 5 minutes match just reversing sleepers like they did before, and that was just great storytelling still. It sort of reminded me of Jake the Snake days. Jake the Snake was very good. Bret Hart was another at that in-ring storytelling. And them two together, they've just got some form of connection where they can tell a great story in the ring together.
I look, the other one that reminds me, well, we think of sleepers, is the $1 Million Man. These people could tell great ring stories. I think they've done that. I don't know how long Gunther's going to have the belt, because I've read lots of conflicting stories about what's going on with Jay. I think he looked battered. He's been carrying the company for a while. We both said it needs to be a short run. I don't think anybody's disagreed with that. At first, I was surprised it was happening on Raw, though.
And then obviously we had a John Cena segment. Good segment.
Do you know what? I'm really starting to enjoy his segments. His banter with CM Punk was some of the best, I think, at the moment. They've managed to both get under each other. And I like that CM Punk was said, stop lying to yourself and the fans. You're not this guy. Come back to where you are. Stop being that guy. And I thought I thought the Monday promo was very good. We'll come on to the Friday one in a minute as well.
Yeah, I just think Cena's had a great week. Like, this week for me, his heel character's proper clicked. I just thought both of them. But we said this before, if Punk likes you, he works great with you. And it also seems like if he hates you, he works great with you. He's got a lot of mutual respect for John. He's got a lot of... And I think it proves it because John's got him to Saudi Arabia, something he said he'd never do. Obviously, money's got him there as well. But I think if it was anyone else, he still would have said no.
I think when you're working with somebody like that, and CM Punk will probably drag a pretty good match out of John Cena. I mean, all right,
100.
They're both getting older. They're not going to have as much movement. But you can certainly see that Cena is struggling to keep up with any of the matches. Punk will probably get a good enough finish out of him, I think.
And I also think, going back to storytelling, these two are great storytellers, so they will be able to tell a story without having to be fast-paced, high-flying. So they can go at their pace, but we still think it's a great match because of the power they've got of being able to tell a story in that ring.
Leads straight on to SmackDown when John Cena came out first of all. I have an issue with his first promo.
Yeah.
And my issue is it was wasted TV time. Legitimately wasted TV time. He doesn't need to be there with the exception of one reason, and that is the end of his promo, literally at the end of the ring. He didn't need to be involved in that at all, that bit at the beginning.
I think it was just to help set up the night because he brought Randy out, who we ain't seen for 6 weeks. He brought Cody out, and he brought LA Knight out, and I've got to take my hat off to LA Knight. He was in the ring with 3 massive legends, and he held his own. A lot of people would come, and I know people have always said LA Knight's got good mic skills, but I've seen a couple of wobbly promos from LA Knight on a SmackDown, and I thought an occasion like that may have been a time that we got a wobbly promo, but no, he held his own.
I'm with you. I think he did a really good job. I say to you, I don't think you could have set that moment up with Cody coming down. You could have set that moment up with Orton coming down, and then you could have set that moment up with LA Knight coming down. And I think that would have done the job. I don't see the need for Cena with the changing of the words so much because he only says a few things before Cody comes down, and then he doesn't speak at all.
And then obviously at the end of that segment, we got the Von Kiddings attack on the runway. Gave me very Miz R-Truth vibes when they attacked people on Raw and security. You know, when they got sacked for those couple of weeks. Gave me them very vibes, and I liked Truth back then. So, yeah, I think it was a good little attack. A bit unexpected as well. From my point of view, after Monday, and I'm thinking what I thought on Monday, the fact that straight away on SmackDown he's then coming out and attacking John, I thought really good.
I loved it. I thought it was really, really fun. And he literally, you can see him waylaying into John because John's doing that. I think that makes John look a little bit more vulnerable. I think that it really, really pleased me. So for me, that works. I think it's worth them mentioning John Cena was then seen a couple of times backstage, first arguing with Nick Aldis, and then his interaction with Jimmy Uso, which I thought they like kind of ignore for a little bit, but he came out and John Cena says, "Have you seen R-Truth?" And he goes, "No." And he says, "Have you seen Ron Killings?" He said, "No." And it's like, "I know you're friends with them, right? Where are they?" I like that interaction. I think that really helped solidify that whatever it is, he's still the same guy.
Yeah, and so as I said, my little clunky thing, I get the comedy of him now with Nick Aldis and turning the hat and doing all the in the face like that, which I found funny. But I just thought because of they're trying to portray Cena as a serious heel, and then we've got like a cartoon 5-10 seconds. Okay, it was funny for the laugh, but it didn't click with what I'm saying. How well, as I said, I feel like I've clicked with John as a heel this week, and that was a little bit too cartoony for me. But I still found it a funny moment. As an isolated moment, it was quite funny.
Well, I'm gonna absolutely blow your mind. So I was sat watching it, and I was making my notes and looking at different things. And my girlfriend, who was sat next to me, said, "He just looks like a grown-up Ash Ketchum from Pokemon." And I was done. I was literally done because that's it. He came across. I understand he is coming across, but he looked like a teenage child again. And I liked the fact that he turned the hat round the other way. It gave him that extra little bit of comedy value that he still has.
And going back to the Jimmy part as well, I did tell you a couple of weeks ago when they kept showing Jimmy, there's a reason why.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that could be a match as well later down the line.
Yeah, it's good they are, because as Cena's counted down, what's he got, 17 dates to go? So they are setting up loads of umbrellas, so we don't exactly know where he's going. Then obviously we're going to get back onto John later,
Yeah.
because that was towards the end of the show. But again, we had some more King and Queen of the Ring qualifiers. So what do you think of these matches?
So the first match I predicted, I said it would happen. I said Jade Cargill would win the first match. Looking at who was involved, surprised that Piper Niven took the pinfall.
Yeah.
Because it looked like Meechin was the one that was. I thought, looking at that list, Meechin's going to eat that pin. That's going to be the way. She looked really good, Meechin. She looked like she could hold her own against these other three women. So I think there could be something in the future for Meechin.
No, 100%. Again, like we keep saying, the women division's just, there's so many great women athletes, and I think a lot of them are going to get to showcase themselves at Evolution, so that'd be really good. A little segment I thought was okay.
Yeah, heel promo 101 is what I would expect. It's the Tiffany moment. Maybe I'm losing focus on her. Maybe I'm waiting for that to happen, because that's got to happen. I liked the interaction that they had where Tiffany said, "Look, cash in now. Do it now. I'm ready. Let's do it now. Get it done." And she's like, "I'm not that stupid. No, I'm picking my moment. You picked yours. Let's go that way." I don't know. Tiffany seems to be wearing on me at the moment.
And obviously Nia Jax with a surprise attack. I did find it interesting, that little interaction when Naomi was about to sneak in, and Nia was like, "Don't bother." And I was thinking, "Oh, hang on, okay."
No, she does not want to be cashed in that way. She's like, "Absolutely, no, you do not. You're not cashing in on me now. We're not doing this." I liked that. I thought it was good storytelling. It's like, I'm going to beat her up, but I'm not beating her up for you. I'm doing it for me. You're not getting anything out of this.
So then, obviously, we had the men's King of the Ring qualifiers. So who was in the first one?
The first one was obviously Randy Orton, LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, and Aleister Black. Three very young and upcoming, I'm including LA Knight in that, but three coming guys that are coming through the system. And Orton, I thought LA Knight would win. I was like, no, he's going to win this. He's going to go through, and he'll probably pin Carmelo Hayes. I thought that's the way in which you get that going. They didn't do it like that, and that surprised me.
I did think Orton was going to win, only because being back after 6 weeks on this SmackDown, it had to be for a reason.
Yeah, I watched that and I wasn't 100% sure. I thought with a four-way, you can protect him. As it was, they actually protected LA Knight with the attack from Bron Breakker again. So they're doing their job. They are actually protecting these guys. I think what we've got to just be careful when I say this is, with the match now being Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton, I'm not sure either of these will come off smelling like roses. Somebody is going to look a little bit, I want to say, weak after it, I feel.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to be Sami, because they love Orton.
Yeah, I do. And I'll come on to you why I think it will be. Orton wins that match next week on SmackDown. On a flip side, though, doing the RKO, wow, absolutely.
I was about to bring that up.
Wow. Because not only does Carmelo Hayes actually hit his move, he then gets caught on the RKO as well. So LA Knight was absolutely out of it.
And like you said, it protects Knight because he doesn't look weak. He's just had 2 finishers in a way done to him because he's just had a bloke land on top of him. Like, yeah, really good ending, really clever. Again, the timing from Orton. When he gets his timing right, his timing is great. Just out of nowhere. That RKO was, great. So, I like the match. I'm funny with the storylines because it's involving so many big superstars that it's going to be hard to work out where it all fits in because it's superstars that if they were going into matches on their own, sort of like jobbers, they would be winning. But when you put them all together, there's lots of ego as well in play. So I don't know how it's all going to roll out.
No, I'm with you. Again, some other moments, Randy seemed to be in a really playful mood. I can say that he played a lot. He smiled a lot. He was making cheeky comments. I loved that. I thought that was really fun.
And also, like at the end, when the ref went to raise his arm and he did the old shoulder and then he looked like I'm joking type thing, I thought that was really funny. So, I like this when Orton's like this.
Yeah, as I said, I like him being playful. It was really fun. The other really fun spot I enjoyed was the double draping DDT with the jumping neck breaker. That looked really good. I thought that was really clever. But overall, I enjoyed the match. I, unlike you, was surprised to see Orton win. I thought you could push someone else. I thought King of the Ring was going to be more about elevating mid-card guys. This year, it seems to be quite a lot about the main eventers.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought, and we've had so many superstars brought out of King of the Ring, obviously Stone Cold, with his promo that sort of elevated him, and so on throughout the years that if you just chuck it all with the big guys, it sort of devalues what the tournament's about. And this is the first time in a couple of years that we've had King and Queen of the Ring again. So you would assume that they would have gave it to an up-and-comer, but it doesn't seem that way either.
No, certainly in the men's bracket, it looks like it's going to be the main event.
And another reason why we think like that, because obviously the second match.
Yeah, so the second match was Cody, Damian Priest, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Andrade. I thought this was going to be Priest. I thought that would be where we'd push. We were going towards those new stars. Cody wins. Okay. I think I want something more. That's my problem.
Yeah, and like I said, so now, where do you think this is leading? Because obviously it's going to be... Do you think it's leading to a Sami Cody, an Orton Cody final? Where do you think it's leading to? Orton Cody?
I think we're going Orton Cody. I really do. I think everybody wants to see that match. I also think you make that $1 million match. Make that... I don't want to say it's going to be as close to a main event as you can probably get. But yeah, that works for me. I want to see that match.
And in a way, WWE could already be going back on what they're saying, because if Orton wins, it's going to be Orton Cena, but they've already had the last time ever match a couple of weeks ago. So that paints themselves into a corner. So do they then have to give it to Cody? But then we're seeing Cody, Cena again, and that's what we saw at Backlash. So it doesn't...
So I actually said to you, I felt we were going to have Cody Cena at SummerSlam, and he was going to hold that. I'm now going to hold my hands up and say I think I got it wrong. I think Cody beats him on his last date. I think that's how you finish that story off. So I wouldn't have him wrestle at SummerSlam. So I don't know where we get round that one then.
Yeah, it's again, and we've said it before. It's tricky because in a way we like to know, but it's fun not knowing as well. So
Yeah, because the other option is you do a Cody Cena War Games match at Survivor Series, which could be so much fun. So much fun if you can do it properly.
Yeah, and like you said, there's so many options, but let's just hope that WWE can navigate their way through. Talking about Cena, obviously, he then comes out again for another promo, but this time with Punk.
Yeah, again, as we said earlier, they've got great chemistry. The pair of them have got such good chemistry. I'm not surprised it worked so well. I like the fact that he just came down, he literally sprinted to the ring, went, cut my music, give me a microphone, R-Truth, come out here, and then Punk's music comes out. And Punk uses Truth as a way of which to like goad him a little bit. I just think they've got great chemistry.
And I think obviously the Mount Rushmore line, I think Punk, he's a wrestling historian, and the names he brought up, the Terry Funk, the Bret Hart, all that stuff, I think that was a great little bit of line. And I love the angle. I love the fact that John says basically, I've proven to the world you're a hypocrite, but I also love the angle that Punk was basically going, we've reversed our roles for Money in the Bank. I was the one that was going to ruin wrestling and leave with the title, which I did. Use the one to stop me, and now it's the other way round. I just love that all coming to fruition. And it's a shame in a way that this might be it at a Night of Champions, where this is more of a SummerSlam, or even, I know John's not getting to WrestleMania, but a WrestleMania storyline, in my opinion.
I'm with you 100%. 100%. This should be a bigger pay-per-view. And I suppose what you could do is you could have a really dodgy finish that they have at Crown Jewels so that you run it back at SmackDown, at SummerSlam. But I think this is just going to be a one and done. I think he's literally finishing off wrestling the guys that he wants to wrestle once, showing the fans, giving them a highlight reel, and then going from there.
Yeah, because I think you can't prolong John's dates, as in waste 4, 5 to 8 dates on one story, because then he's not going to get through the list. Because I believe, John, I know a lot of these wrestlers say that when they retire and they come back for one more match. I believe John when he says, December, I'm done. I don't believe we're going to get to 4 dates and then he's going to go, actually, I'm going to add another 3 on. I think these are his dates and that's his story and this is it. So I agree with you. It's a shame, the timing. But again, I just feel like that just comes into WWE just cramming their year with so many PLEs. Another quick thing I wanted to touch on, John, at the beginning of the night, WWE handled it well, with John saying he's had this mapped out for the last 6 months to tie in all the bits, because obviously we know about Truth being brought back. Do you think it all tied in well and it made sense for what John was saying?
Yeah, to a point. I think it's good storytelling. I think WWE, whether they wanted to or not, they've got away with it. It works. It's not the worst decision I think I've ever seen. But yeah, I haven't got too much of an issue with the comment about the roadmap.
We've got Ron Killings again for R-Truth. Love John selling at the end with the leg. He didn't just roll out the ring and just walk up the aisle. He sold it, that injury. He made Truth look like a mean machine.
Yeah, absolutely. I also like the fact that Punk stood there with a microphone going, "This is your truth."
The truth hurts.
That it really worked. I think this again is great storytelling. If you're not going to do Punk at SummerSlam, then you quite clearly, I know they've announced the match will be on SmackDown, but you have some sort of, maybe have a stipulation match at SummerSlam where Ron Killings has to leave him alone.
Yeah. And again, like, it's just, for R-Truth, it must be crazy, because 2 weeks ago, your contract's about to come to an end, and now all of a sudden, they bring you back, they make you go on stage and cut your hair, then they bring you over to SmackDown, and they make you appear 2 or 3 times, and then they're giving you another match with John Cena next week. And it's either, again, like, they've just mapped this story together and it's going to come out as a great moment, or they're basically saying to R-Truth, these fans wanted you back, we're going to run you into the ground and you're going to wish you never come back.
I don't think that's the case, because I know some people have come out and said, I know Triple H hasn't, but some people have come out and said, this was our mistake. We did a wrong call. We were looking at numbers. We should have looked at the individuals. And I think that's the one that hurts the most. I think this will work out with the storytelling. What you've got to remember is, what do we do with R-Truth, Ron Killings after the Cena feud?
But like you said, I think this is his last hurrah, because of his age and stuff. So he'll probably just slip off, maybe get a backstage role, just to have a Legends contract and turn up some appearances. So I think once he's done whatever he's doing with John.
It's out. I think John Cena's going to finish his run as a heel. I don't think we're going to turn him face in the end.
No, I agree. I'm starting to think, and I think he's actually going to take that belt home, and we're going to have one champion. And this is their way to get one champion. I honestly do. I think the titles are, there's always your top tier title and your second rate. A lot of people don't like the two champs. They've got used to it now. I know a lot of people do. But I think when you've got one title, and because it's TKO, and now the Saudis, I know people may not think, but the Saudis are very involved with TKO now because of the boxing. And the way they're trying to change boxing into one champ only, the UFC is one champ for every division only. I think they're going to try and put WWE into that umbrella and have one champion. And I think this is their way of doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're going to work out quite like that, but we could be wrong.
Yeah, and again, as we keep saying, it's the who knows, and this is where we've been for the last couple of weeks, and that's a good place to be as a wrestling fan.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing that we haven't mentioned on SmackDown is the tag team division.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I like the story that the White Six are involved with. I like that you feed them the veterans with the Motor City Machine Guns. But Loomis and Gacy really struggled as a tag team. I think they've got to get some more work done. I'd be taking those in the Performance Center and I'd be working better with their tag ability. Two very talented young men, but they didn't gel very well.
Yeah, totally agree. It was a little bit clunky, and they didn't seem to have the chemistry with each other or the Motor City Machine Guns. I know White Six have been out of ring matches-wise for a long time, so it might be all that stuff. But yeah, like you said, they need to get back together. Because if not, White Six as a concept is a great idea, but if the in-ring work's not going to be good, the fans ain't going to connect, and we could just lose out on a really good idea.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Well, team, that brings us to the end of an interesting RAW and SmackDown. We've got one more week until the King of the Ring tournament and the Night of Champions. But for this week, who is Tim's top talent of the week?
Okay, so Tim's going to break the rules here, and I'm going to pick two, and that's because of their interactions. I'm going to pick John Cena and CM Punk, because the interactions this week have been probably the highlights of the wrestling, so I can't argue. These are my two picks.
Well, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you on Tuesday for our question.
Yeah, Lee, I'll see you Tuesday.